Good morning. This is Larry McMillan with a recording on Monday, March 9th, before the market opens. It looks like today the market is literally going to crash. The futures are lock limit down right now, but indications from SPY are that the futures are going to open down over 200 points. I could go over the indicators, but suffice it to say everything is very oversold and support doesn't mean much. We expect to see VIX well above 60, and that does present some hedging opportunities for traders who are into our newsletter strategies that we've been fairly successful on. However, of course, anything dealing with short puts is not doing well at all right now. I have written up a quick paper called My Recollections of the Crash of '87 as a trader, because there were some things that happened then that probably would be repeating themselves as we go forward. So I just wanted to, rather than discuss today's market specifically, just discuss how these kind of scenarios unfold. On October 19th, 1987, the market was down 22% on the Dow, 20% on SPX. And overnight, that night, the newly appointed Fed Chairman, Alan Greenspan, flooded the markets with liquidity, so there was an immediate rally the next morning. But that gave way to pretty much like the rally that briefly occurred after the Fed just lowered interest rates last week. Anyway, when that rally dissipated and prices went negative on Tuesday, October 20th, it was pretty startling, and a lot of specialists started closing their books because of order imbalance. Eventually, the entire New York Stock Exchange closed that morning, and during the close, they were, in theory, trying to put together a bids and offers so that they could have an orderly market again. But when the market reopened, there was a huge buy order in a minor index called the XMI, which traded both futures and options. And it was a sizable order, and it drove the market higher, and that was the bottom. Rumors have always persisted that that was the government buying. It could have been Plunge Protection Team or what have you. But the market moved higher that day and the next. It was up like 6% on October 20th and 10% more on October 21st. There was a retest of the lows the next week, and then another retest of the lows in early December, but that was essentially the low. VIX stayed above 100 for about 6 days. There was not really a VIX then, but the CBOE has gone back and calculated where it would have been. So it stayed above 100 for about 6 days. Then it slowly declined for the next couple of months, but still was in the 40s in December. So, once it had gotten out of that really crazy high level, it was probably, say, 1st of November or so, pretty good time for option selling strategies. In any case, we're facing right now a pretty dire situation, and it won't probably be resolved all that quickly. The government will again try to throw something at it and may eventually have to resort to buying the market directly, which many people believe it did then. And there's probably nothing wrong with that. I mean, unless you're an Austrian economist, you don't really want to let these things play out to their disaster conclusions. You'd rather someone stepped in and took control of things. But right now we're beyond the reality of how bad coronavirus could be and what have you. It is, however, quite likely that we will have a recession now, I would think, because people are just not traveling. They're not moving around, not spending the way that they would, and it's harming a lot of companies. So that's also complicating prices in the stock market. Anyway, sorry I couldn't have better news for you, but we are distributing this report that to all of our subscribers. So if you would even take a trial subscription at optionstrategist.com, you would be receiving this report. Just my recollections of the crash of '87. So thanks for listening. And oh, by the way, we are having a Saturday morning seminar this week, March 21st, and we will be discussing, of course, the current market, and as well as having an educational seminar at that time too on basically the option basics. So it's a beginner level seminar, but we will be discussing the market as well. So I invite you to visit our website and sign up for that too. Thanks for listening.